Good morning.
Good morning. Oh,
This Wednesday has a real bad habit of showing up pretty quick each week.
it does. It comes out of nowhere. Nowhere. And because we were 3 minutes late because we were looking over some videos real quick, we have lots of good mornings and hellos from our
Okay.
friends here. And actually, we were looking at Margie's videos to
Yes,
be.
we were.
We could show those today. We're going to have to play with those pictures. I've got to find a format to upload those a little bit better so they're easy to see. So, and that reminds me, every time I see Brooke, I always look down for my coffee cup and I'm like, it's sitting in the kitchen, darn
Oh, okay.
it.
It's Wednesday. Yay.
Yeah. I just hit the like button so I don't forget to later. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. Thank you. Amanda, yeah, anybody felt any presences lately? Um, I'm
Well,
surprised.
if you want, if you want to listen to my phone ring, a lot of people have been feeling presences lately.
Oh, and thank you, Amy. And Sapphire from Southern California. It's 41. What is it here right now? Yesterday was really nice.
Yeah, it was beautiful here yesterday.
And Monday.
What's the temperature out there, Ted? 29 and very windy and rainy here. I don't know what it's doing by you, but it's bad
We're
here.
about the same. And I always keep Tucson up on my phone, and I'm just like, see, why did I leave?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, keep torturing myself. Um, let's see. Um,
It was so nice seeing some of these people that are on Wednesday come on Zoom. It was so nice to put a face with the name.
right,
Yeah,
right.
that was really nice. I like it when, every now and again one of you pop up on Zoom. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Uh, let's see. Oh, Dawn, she's like, we're expecting a mild blizzard Friday.
Yeah, I know. And of course, I have a house schedule, so that'll take care of that probably.
And let's see. So one of the first questions we have is from Amanda. It says, does burning incense count as smudging? In my opinion, is no.
Absolutely not. Two totally different things.
Hmm. And incense kind of stays in a little area anyway. And most incenses, unless you are grinding up the herb and burning it on charcoal, incense sticks and cones have adhesives, wood, and other things in it. So a lot less of the actual herb to do the smudging for you and other things. So
Right.
um, I forget who it was. One of the pagan authors was talking about using like essential oil versus perfume oil and for your altars and offerings, and and they're like, well, he's like, what do you think, could you use sacred Febreze and get the same effects? And I'm like, that's hilarious. I'm like,
No.
right, well, that was his point.
Right, 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 right.
Spritz or lavender scented Febreze over your altar and consider that
Yeah,
lavender.
no.
I'm like that. I like that. Um, let's see. Oh, and everyone's like, "Where's Lewis? Where's Lewis?" So if anybody is new and joining us, this is where you get to ask questions about earthbound spirits, negative energy, portals, all those fun things. And Marianne's going to answer. Sometimes I answer things. Otherwise, I try to handle the chaos and all the comments.
Yeah, but the questions that some of them ask, I have no knowledge about at all. With you having the goddess elite, you have way more knowledge about that stuff than I do.
Yeah, sometimes, or I know who to send you to who,
Right.
has that information.
Exactly.
Um, Everybody discussing their weather in their area. Oh, Says, I got to say, I was at the Zoom meeting this past Monday. I was so impressed. It was my first time seeing Marianne in action. So thank you for joining
I
us.
don't even remember that name on Zoom.
Yeah, probably. Well, we had some that showed up under iPhone owner,
Oh,
so,
okay.
um, and I know a lot of times your Facebook names and YouTube names aren't necessarily your real name. Um, let's see. Lots of. So Natalie says, if an earthbound doesn't go into their own light, do they know they can use someone else's light?
Natalie, every talk I give, I tell that as many times as I can. I would certainly think, plus it's in all my books. I've mentioned it. I think the word has really gotten out there, which is good because it's good in one way that if you lose your light, you at least can get to where you need to be. But by giving people that information, I have also gotten, a response back. Oh, good. I can stick around and give somebody grief and then I can go to the light.
Mm.
You're going to pay for it. Be careful what you do.
Well, knowing all the secrets now.
Yeah, right.
Just,
But there's still, I'm a firm believer in karma. So,
let's see. There was just a quick question and everything bumped up. But we did have a question left over from a week or two ago that had to do with public buildings, and depending on the amount of earthbounds, would the earthbounds be the reason of the sick building syndrome? Possibly.
it very possibly, yeah. Um, Depending on how many spirits are in there, is it a 4-floor building? Is it a 12-floor? It depends. Just because somebody calls me from an office on the 8th floor doesn't mean that a ghost that is hanging out on the 2nd floor doesn't come up to your unit too. And so it's again, a public building is a lot like people living in a condo or an apartment, in and out constantly. And if it can cause enough problems, it's going to go down. The problem is, too, so many buildings are closed now because of COVID. And you wonder how many of them are really even going to reopen after all this. Employees have figured out, or employee, people that own the businesses, there you go, Mayor. Um, they have figured it out that it's cheaper to let people work from home than it is to pay insurance and electric and everything they rent for a building. So the world is changing. I don't know. It's interesting that you bring that up, though, because the YouTube that I'm doing tonight is about ghosts in businesses and how much damage they've done to businesses.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when I first saw that question, my first thought was like that the whole Legionnaire's disease and how that got its name from that, building where everybody was gathering, and only the people that went to that Legionnaire's place,
Right.
the Legion, were getting sick. Um, let's see. Oh, and we did have a comment, it just popped up here, that one of our here we go, Linda, says perfumes are made with pesticides. If they had ingredient labels, no one would buy them. As an RD in the WIC program, we taught new mothers not to burn incense in a home with an infant.
Yeah, and I agree. Absolutely. We were foster parents for years down in Wayne County, and the babies that we had, did get things from WIC. And I was surprised even 30 years ago that somebody was smart enough to call that.
Yeah, you've got to be careful which incense you're using and burning.
Truly.
Let's see. Oh, here's our friend that joined us on the last Zoom. Says, I was impressed with your abilities. My dad and sister want to do one with me. It's sad that my mom hasn't passed over. So
Well, and again, I think that she's just worried about your father. And I think that's why she didn't cross over. I really think and I have to tell you, I still can't get over that in your state, you actually have a city called Peculiar. I, and of course, Ted reminded me about what was that other one, Ted? Normal, Indiana, or Illinois. Normal, Illinois.
Hmm.
I bet there's all kinds of goofy names like that on
I
cities.
think there's a Hell, Michigan.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So
Okay.
hell does freeze over at least once a year.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes, yes.
uh, Nikki says, I was on Monday call as Nikki B. I smudged sage all over my house. The ghost got really nasty with me. Was unable to sleep. Is there anything else I can do?
Number one, Nikki, if you smudge correctly, an earthbound spirit does not retaliate. So don't blame it on the smudge. Keep on doing it. You have to keep on doing it. And like I said, you've got an active and you've got one that's, nasty. So you really have to be very on it. And nope, it's not because of the smudging.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of like it's like a tranquilizer for them.
Yes,
So,
yes.
you know,
And you think about it that way, as soon as you light it, it's going to take their energy away from them. So they're not going to get worse.
hmm so if you didn't get it everywhere and do everything you're supposed to, now there's that safe space for them where they can still get the energy and
And hide. That's right.
mhm. Let's see. Amanda asks, ever have you ever gotten someone from the portal to go into a white light?
Oh, yes. Well, the two we did at Margie's house, they both went into the light. No, no, the one did and one didn't.
hmm
Right. One
And
did, one.
oh
The
wait, the guy at
Travis
my
was
house.
afraid of his mother, but the
That's
other
right.
one went into the light. Yeah. No, no, no.
Clar- Clarence was more afraid of his mom.
Mom, then God. So there you go.
I want to. I would like to
And I'm sure at
meet him and
times
talk
my
to his mom.
children have thought the same thing in our house.
Kara says, I should know this because I've been watching you since day one, but does Quincy's help with hex or black magic or just earthbound spirits?
Okay, black magic, hex, you're talking about negative energy. Yes, if you've got a seed on you, negative energy cannot attach to you. So, yep, it does work for that also.
Let's see. Um, do, 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 do. I have a lot of chatting between one another, which is fine. It says, what attracts earthbounds to you to make them attached to you?
In all honesty, usually type A personalities, somebody that's very vibrant and active, that somebody that has a lot of the energy, because that's what the earthbound spirit needs is human energy. So they're going to attach themselves to somebody that's pretty much a type A personality. That's why they are so popular. That's why there's so many ghosts in theaters. And almost every actor or actress, if they're not a type A personality, they probably shouldn't even be in that line of work.
Let's see. Oh, and Baylor says he was one who asked about the unhealthy building because he works for the IRS and the office was unhealthy. And that's got to
Yeah,
be a stressful job and just everybody
that's
just.
exactly right. The same thing is true with people that work for companies that try to collect money from bad credit cards and that kind of thing. I mean, it's like a huge room with all these desks in it and people sitting there with headphones on, calling people up and finding out when they're going to pay on their bill. Can they pay something on their bill? These people are cursed constantly. And the
Mhm,
negative energy in these places is horrible. But again, look at a stadium.
mhm,
Let's use A Rod when he played ball for New York. Every time he'd be in any other city, including ours. You know, he gets up to play to hit. Everybody that's a fan is going, miss the ball, strike him out. You're whatever. You know, look at the negative energy that's being thrown around. So it's not uncommon.
Hmm. There was a question about if whether or not if you've seen earthbound spirits in Amish country.
I have. And I lived in Amish country for 20 some years.
Okay.
Um, you have to live with them to know them. Believe me, they're a very unique group of people. But yes, they do have ghosts.
I've been getting more familiar with them, driving out, once, twice a week. And I'm still amazed at how, at least in this area, they want to walk across roads in a line, not this way, this way. And you come around and you're like, holy, I can see why there would be, because you're getting taken out in traffic because they walk across the lanes instead of single file on the edge of the road.
Years ago, before one of the what was that? I did that for what? It was a census for the census taker. It was the long form where you had to go. Everybody knocked on doors, and it was like a 3 hour questionnaire you had. These people had to fill out, and I got stuck doing all the Amish people. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I got chased by geese, dogs, a goat.
A goat.
A goat.
Which was worse, the Canadian goose or the goat?
Yeah, I'm telling you, they can both bump or bite. So, and then, and of course, I have jeans on and a jacket, and these little Amish kids would come over and play with the zipper, go up and down because they didn't know what a zipper was. You know, it was, but it's unique because they don't have telephones, but more than half of them have a phone booth at the end of their driveway.
Yeah.
They're washing clothes, and they've got a Ringer wash machine hooked up to a gas generator powering it.
Because it's not electric.
That's right. So, you know, it's very, very, and oh my gosh, they love to, I mean, they just love to tattle on one another constantly, constantly. Did you talk to them down the street? Yeah. Did they tell you they had 8 horses in somebody else's barn? I bet they didn't tell you that. The ghost is standing behind them, going, they complain about everything. This is the ghost telling me that. Yeah, they have
Well,
ghosts.
I mean, gotta amuse yourself somehow, right?
That's right.
Let's see. So Jeff says, I discovered an old girlfriend died 3 months after 3 months ago after having her image suddenly come into my mind. It has been 30 years since I saw her last, but is there anything I can do to help her?
Well, Jeff, how do you know she hasn't crossed over? Just because you had an image of her in your mind doesn't mean she's earthbound. I think that I would try to find out, if you don't know already. There's a couple of things that if she died from some kind of a long lingering disease, she probably crossed over. And look for a dream. I mean, if she actually produced an image so that you thought of her, that tells me she will come in a dream as soon as she's able to. Look for it in about 6 months. It could take up to 2 years.
Let's see. There was the question about whether or not either one of us consider burning sage as an act of cultural appropriation. And I know you and I have talked about this off camera. I mean, I myself, and because I have a store that sells it. My son is actual in the bloodline. He is the last of his bloodline to claim Cherokee Nation. He's actually got more Choctaw than Cherokee, but the bloodline there. So, in conversing with his father, who has the card in depth about this, no. If you're doing this is as a part of an act for cleansing or sacred, you're not making fun of it, you're not making a joke of it, because how many other little traditions are there that came from somewhere else? Who was the first culture to burn incense? you know do we want to is it a church? Is it the Greeks? Is it you know um
Yeah,
yeah.
I think you would have to give Native Americans the smudge stick. I
Hmm.
think that's probably, but as far as incense goes and that kind of thing, that's been around forever. I mean, look, what frankincense, myrrh, and what's the third
Right.
one? Right. So, no, that's been around for a long, long time.
Right. um and let's face it, because I'm reading through to see if we're already getting uh comments on this. So each landmass is going to have herbs that work best for them for certain things. Here in North America, it seems to be white sage. If we were to go to Europe, it would probably be something native, some native plant that works there. I'm sure up in Canada, it would be slightly different, different climate, different growing traditions. It's going to be something different. So we are here, most of us in our chats and everything are North American. So that is going to be the plant that works best here.
Over here.
Um, again, if you're doing it out of respect, if you're using it for what it is used for, then you're fine. Um, if you're going around, mockingly and, using one of those old inappropriate Halloween costumes, well, now you're just being a jerk.
Right.
But so no, because I'm also not claiming that just because my son is native that makes me native too. Because no.
No, 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 no. It has to be blood.
Hmm.
And as far as the government goes, they up to a 65th. So,
Hmm. Yeah, he's 165th. He's got Choctaw Cherokee, um, but that also goes by the bloodline and the Indian number assigned to the card. So, um, yeah. So unless he finds
well, how come if you've got that lineage and you've got it down, why hasn't he been able to use it to go to college?
sore subject, ever since he was born, telling his father, like, go get him registered and his numbered.
Yeah.
So even though we can, like, here's his dad's number and then here's his direct son, because the son has not been registered, he doesn't have those benefits. So, yeah, that's been
That's too
18
bad.
years of,
That's really too bad because that's a state college, board, books, everything.
yeah. Well, and the downside, though, with some of those programs is, yes, like you could go learn pharmacy for free at a native school, but now you are required to work at the native hospitals for X amount of years
I
to.
think they changed that. I don't think,
Okay.
yeah, I don't think that's true anymore. Of course, I don't know for sure, but I would, well, can't his father still get on it and get him registered?
Could. Yeah.
Well, let's find a question.
Let's go to a more fun topic.
That's right. Let's just let this go.
So we have people reminding us that we have Helltown, Ohio, and
Oh,
Defiance, Ohio.
oh,
Uh,
Defiance. I never thought of that. Right.
yeah. Um, and Amy says she loves your cup.
Oh, yes. This was my gift from Melissa for Christmas. The
Yeah.
Ghost Whisper. Who
Uh,
did this? Who made these?
Um, she works at my store, Missy. So she
Yeah.
makes tumblers. We've got like tarot tumblers and witchy tumblers and
Yeah, this keeps it everything so nice and cold.
And Ted has one, and it says the Ghost Whisperer's husband.
Yes, it does.
We
And
couldn't leave him out.
yeah, and he's got his over there on his by his chair. So yep, we're using for sure.
There was the question about if Earthbound see everything, including when we shower, when we change our clothes, when we.
If they're in the room with you, yes, they do. That's why I said I think I told somebody on Zoom at least smudge the bathroom before you go in there to shower. At least they'll keep them out of the bathroom. Yeah, somebody will say to me when I'm at their house, well, my husband and I were having a conversation last night. They have the ghost tell me what they said. If the ghost was in the room and heard the conversation, yes, they could tell me. But if they weren't in the room, I have no clue. I got tested at a house one time, and I may have even told this story here, but it was a husband who didn't really believe in this at all. And he was sitting with his wife and her mother, and he was sitting on the bottom of the steps that was going up to the second floor. And after I find out who they are and tell him everything, and then the husband finally says, so what happened in the bedroom last night? The ghost can tell you what happened. It's like, are you kidding me? And he went, no, something else happened. And I said, okay. And the ghost is actually laughing. So it was like, yes, she was there. And I looked at her and I said, what happened? She said, it was so funny. He got up at 2:00 in the morning to go to the bathroom and came back out of the bathroom, and the cat had puked and he stepped in it. And he was bouncing around because he had puke all over his foot.
All over his foot.
Yeah. And so I said,
Right.
so after she told me this, I just sort of looked at him sitting there at the bottom of the steps and I said, how did you get that cat puke out from between your toes? I thought he was going to fall over. I really did. So, yeah, they like to gossip sometimes. They do.
So this was kind of a joke, but it makes me wonder, because this could be, a well-growing plant in the U.S. Says, I guess some people would prefer to smudge with cannabis.
Oh yeah, but you'd be so happy doing it. Probably wouldn't do a thing for the ghost, because I've actually seen ghosts smoke cigars, pipes, cigarettes, and weed. So
Okay.
they would probably really enjoy it.
So you haven't gone into a house where they clearly smoke a lot of cannabis.
Oh
and
yes, I have.
they-
The ghosts are still there.
Okay, and it didn't affect the earthbounds whatsoever.
Not at all. Not one little bit.
Okay.
And there's so many now, because I think anybody that asks, at least in Ohio, for a card, for a medical card for that, I'm beginning to think they don't turn down anybody. So there's a lot of it going around.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, because it would be interesting, like which plants work, which don't. So like sage, sweetgrass work. So I'm like,
Yeah,
is it a
sweetgrass.
family, a genius of plants that work versus others? Like what's the chemical compound that works?
I've seen the Native American that we get our sage from, because of all the wildfires that were out in New Mexico. It was hard to get some nice big sage sticks, and so he started putting lavender in with it, or I forgot what else he put in the one time. It was something else, and they seemed to work just fine too. But it was 99% sage.
Okay. Let's see. Melanie is asking, how can I keep earthbounds from messing with my sewing supplies?
Well, if that's the only room that they're messing with, then and you don't want to smudge. Um, what you probably could do, hopefully you've got a room with all the craft stuff and the sewing in it. And if you did that, if that room was clear, you could put a seed over the door going into that room, and at least that would be a safe space. That would be one way to do it.
And for anybody who's looking for Marianne's show, The Ghost Whisperer, Melody says she found The Ghost Whisperer show on the Roku channel.
It's on so many cable stations. It's all over.
I
I
think somebody asked me Saturday when you were at the shop if I watch it. And I'm like, I have, but I don't currently. And that's because,
well, it's not. I mean, it's been off the years for years now. I
right,
yeah, no.
my TV is off way more than it's on. Um,
Well, mine is on, but I'm in the office, so I don't watch it anyway. So, but it keeps Ted busy, so that's good. Occupied.
Monday was the longest I've watched TV in probably months. And that's because I was laid up with a migraine and we were watching Ozarks on Netflix
Oh, it's
because
so
we
good.
had heard it was good.
So good. It is so good. And
Because
the alien is back. For those of you who's yeah, the alien is back. He's
Resident Alien, I'm gonna have to look him up and get
oh
that
he's so
one.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I kept thinking Ozarks was one of those shows where they were constantly looking for buried treasure and all, and I'm like, I don't
No,
think.
that's Oak Island.
Yeah, and
And
see,
by now, these people that do that Oak Island thing, they must be incredibly wealthy to keep doing this year after year, year after year, and not finding anything. It's like it's getting old, guys. Start finding something.
right, right. I
Actually,
get that.
somebody called me from that general area and wanted to know if they went and talked to those two brothers because it's the curse of Oak Island. Could I go take care of it? And I laughed about it and I thought, is it real or is it reality TV? Which is it?
Right. Now, can you tell if there's a curse on like the properties and stuff like over the
If they
phone?
called me from the island, I could. Yes. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. It's like when I did the resort in St. Lucia. Uh, that property, the whole property was cursed there. Yeah. Actually, honestly, and this is the truth, I put quincies all over that island from a helicopter. And that and
Why are we doing this? Why are we not going around to resorts in warm areas and just looking? Why are we here? I am serious. Why are we here?
been there, done that. What can I say? I don't know. It was fun. It was
I'm,
fun.
I'm,
Yeah,
I don't know what to say now. I'm just
it was really nice.
why are we here?
Yeah.
Um,
And I bet some agricultural person is trying to figure out how a quince bush
is
was
growing
growing on that island. Right?
because in like 150 years they're gonna think some sort of migratory.
Birds
Yeah.
had diarrhea over their island.
No, just Marianne sprinkling some seeds. Uh, so Coins and Cool says, here's a question. If I pass away and decide to be earthbound for a bit, my cat passes away. Can I cross over with her into the light? You scoop the cat up and
No, that's not what he's asking. He's asking if his light gets lost, if he can go in on his cat's white light.
oh, I read that way too fast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Are
what he's
animal lights big enough for humans to go? Do you have to crawl through the animal
Yeah, I truthfully I've never seen that happen. So I suppose I shouldn't say no because as soon as I do, I'll see it happen. But I think that would be I would think no. No.
light?
You couldn't get low enough to fit into a cat's white light.
Brooke was like, let's start calling resorts.
Oh, jeez. Oh my gosh.
And Jana's like, we need to go expand and expound. See? Why are we here?
I will tell you this. It was years ago, I got somebody that does tours in Europe and a does cruises. They wanted to know if I could do a cruise, if we could get enough people on it, like Ted and I could go for free. It's how many people and all that. Excuse me. And so I said, well, what would I do? And I was actually, it was planned I was going to do the curse workshop on
Mm-hmm.
the cruise. And then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I need to take all those cursed objects. Do I want to be in the middle of an ocean with a bunch of cursed objects on a ship? And it's like, yeah. But it turned out we only got about 15 people that signed up, and it had to be a certain amount, so we couldn't do it. Turned out
Mm.
nobody really wanted to do it.
There could. I texted Ted yesterday in regards to antlers,
Oh,
and um, yeah, we have some possibilities
oh
with.
yes, he did tell me. Yeah, I know where you're going with that, and that's a no.
Oh, only a spoil sport.
Yeah, nope, nope, nope. A regular talk and a ghost walkthrough, absolutely. That's probably going to be it.
Julie says, "What are the dry leaves that you get from church around Easter? Can that be burned? And
Oh,
can that work
sure,
as a
that's
mud?"
palm. Those are blessed palms, and they use them. You'll get them coming up because Lent starts next week. You get them on Palm Sunday. As a matter of fact, for those of you that are Catholic that go to get your ashes on Wednesday, they burn the old palm leaves from last year to make the ash to stick on your forehead. And I will actually use some of that ash on a really bad portal because
Mm,
portals can be varying degrees of, yeah, it's not too bad to raging. And I have used that, but yeah, but that's the ash. When the priest comes in to bless the house, they will put a little bit of a palm leaf over the top of the door sometimes too. Um, and it's as I'm going to put it in the same group as a horseshoe, a four-leaf clover. It's something to do. I'll tell you, it probably works better than any of that, though. Believe it or not, is tobacco leaves. But I don't know how easy it is to get tobacco leaves.
mm.
Do you carry tobacco leaves?
No, my understanding, and granted, I haven't researched too far into this. And here we are with what do they say about assuming? Um, but the fact that to sell like tobacco, cigarettes, things like that, like you have to have a tobacco license, at least in the state of Ohio. So, and it may depend on are you using it for like smoking? Because you figure like you got all the smoke shops, right? For tobacco pipes, cigarettes, rollers,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, but do they sell the actual tobacco leaf?
And
Those are really big leaves from a
yeah,
tobacco.
I haven't seen them in the
Okay.
shops because like I'll go in there and get some of the pipe tobacco my grandpa used to smoke and kind of like just diffuse and burn that every now and then.
Mm-mm.
But I haven't really looked either.
Okay. Well, that's supposed to be a good protection too. Again, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing that works 100% is the quinseed.
Hmm.
So
And there was the question of like, why are ghosts afraid of quince and not coconuts, apples, and tomato? And it's not necessarily the seed itself.
it is not, it's the energy work that my relatives do to them in Italy before they send them to me. And because they're so nice and small, I'm very lucky they're not olive pits. Because how could you hide an olive pit above your door?
um, and people are talking about like doing tours of haunted resorts and
Oh my
we all
gosh.
sign up. Uh,
Wow.
Lily the Trolley haunted tour, Lolly the Trolley. Um,
Lolly was haunted.
really? And did you take care of that one?
Could be.
And Westies says, I am convinced that all airports harbor negative energy. Do you see many spirits when you fly?
They're horrible at airports. Every airport is bad. The people that are flying are crabby. The people that are trying to help them are crabby because the people that are flying are crabby. And luggage and waiting. And yeah, anybody that definitely works in an airport should absolutely have a quinceanera on them because you don't have any clue what you're going to be bringing home with you. And the TSA agents, really, who likes them? Nobody, because you don't want to wait in that line. So yeah, it's. I actually got a call from one of the representatives in Cleveland to do Cleveland Hopkins Airport, the whole airport.
Do you have enough seats for that?
And I was flabbergasted. I said, there's no way. I said I could do one wing and four planes would come in, and who's coming off those planes? And those doors, they're so big. No, and there you go with the seeds. I said, you want to do certain areas? I says, hey, I've got an idea. Why don't we do the control tower? That would be doable. Well, that was the stupidest idea I ever had, I guess, because they just laughed at that one. So I said, nope. I says, I can't help you. Me and an army, and it still wouldn't work. So yeah, but airports, and you got ghosts coming in from foreign countries. Yeah, no, not good. You should see what the guys that are coming back when they're from Iraq, what they've got around them when they come off a plane.
Mm-hmm. Well, all of the military members that serve over there don't have to come back. Amy says, saw you on Zoom Monday. Did the negative energy cleanse like you said, and now no bad dreams. Also wearing my C day and night. Bless you, I feel so much lighter.
Such a difference. And if you don't go through it, how can you possibly explain it to somebody where they don't think you're crazy?
Exactly it. I mean, it's getting easier in today's world than it was 20, 30
Oh,
years
yeah, 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, I mean, I see and talk to dead people. So what does that make me? You know,
Right.
any number of different things.
So, what's the oddest or least expected location you've seen in Earthbound?
I got to tell you, the first time I saw, I think, a ghost that was stuck in a church, I almost think that disappointed me because you like to think that churches, no matter what denomination, are positive, holy, good places. And to actually see a ghost, an earthbound spirit in a church causing problems, that made me really sad.
Yeah. So Hannah says, when clearing a home and getting rid of negative energy, is it possible for the energy to leave any remnants behind?
What happens when a house is cleared of that? Okay. Here is a plate, pretend, and it's got negative energy on it. So you take the negative energy off, the plate is clear, but the dust, the residue from the negative energy is still lingering. You don't have to do anything, and within a week to 10 days, that energy will settle and dissipate on its own. Each day will feel better. If you want it to go faster, smudge one time, that'll take care of it. If you want to do it another way, you can light a 7-day candle, which, if you're lucky, it'll go 5 days. And that will take out some of that negative energy too. But the problem with the 7-day candle is this: once you light it, it has to stay lit. You can't blow it out. and relight it. It has to go from top to bottom the whole time. Who's going to go to bed at night with a lit candle like that? Who's going to leave the house and go to work with a lit candle like that? So there's a couple options. How many of you have a big soup pot? Put the candle inside the soup pot and put it in the stationary tubs. You have a
Mm.
fireplace. Open the fireplace doors up. Put the candle inside the fireplace. Close the doors. You can put the candles in safe places, not out in the open where the dog, the cat, or the kid can knock it over. But again, you don't have to do anything. It will settle and dissipate on its own.
Mm. I know a lot of people, especially in the Magic community, that leave their candles, but they do things like that, or
Yeah,
saucepan with some water around it, and in the middle of their bathtub, and things like
right. And there's those things that you can buy that you can stick the candle inside and close the door. They look like little lanterns of some kind.
that. Hmm.
Those work too. But I would personally still stick that in a big pot if I was going someplace or in the fireplace. I fire not good.
No, not at all. Gina D says, "Have you ever had an earthbound spirit tell you that they watched The Ghost Whisper
Yes, I have. From the set.
from this?"
I
Oh,
was there.
well, that's fun.
Yeah, just laughing and going, they really think that's the way it works. Yeah,
Mm,
no. And again, any kind of a movie set, TV set like that, it is full.
mm. So are cemeteries quiet, or are they full of activity?
Cemeteries are where the living go to pay respect to somebody that has died. There is absolutely no energy coming from a dead person. So why would an earthbound spirit go through a cemetery? Now, I have to admit, every now and then you'll get some old lady ghost swing through and make sure somebody's taking care of her headstone. But does she hang out in the cemetery? No.
Hmm.
And so these people that go on all these ghost walks at Halloween through cemeteries, I have no clue what they're seeing.
Hmm. I used to hang out in cemeteries all the time. They're nice and quiet, and
I
only once have I seen anything.
Yeah, we've had four houses, and three of them were either across the street or next door to a cemetery. Make your best neighbors.
Right. Let's see. Everybody, little conversations amongst themselves. Um, oh, and we're about 10 to 11. Um, so we do have some events coming up, and I did see where somebody's like, "Yes, please come back to Antlers." So that may or may not happen. We're kind of talking with the building now. And the problem with some of these places, especially like hotels and whatnot, because they have such porous surfaces, that whenever they have events, like they're still required to come in and like COVID clean. So the pricing on rentals of some of these places is going up. Um, so we're in talks there, but we do have Madison Seminary coming up. Please, if you're interested, go reserve your spots. We're kind of running out of time on this event here.
It's the 19th of March, so we need to get it filled or to at least to where we can break even on this. Otherwise, we're going to have to cancel. So sign up. Just, I mean, it should be a really cool thing to bring a camera, bring
Your recorders, your
orders.
EVPs, your I know
Right.
some people do it with like the whole dowsing rods. They douse for spirits and
You can run amok in this place with your camera. I mean,
Mhm,
it's like the following month, the Carousel Museum in
mhm.
Sandusky. People last year got some great pictures of ghosts, and you got the run of the place there too. But the seminary I've never been there, so it's going to be interesting to see what's there.
Yeah, if you go to their website, they got links, like little video links to the shows, the paranormal shows that it's been on and what they've caught there. So it's a pretty active building, being known for being haunted. So of course the ghosts are always going to come out and come get energy from everybody. So we're running out of time to sign up for that one. We do have the Merry-Go-Round Museum about a month after that, May 1st. So that's in Sandusky. So right now we've got some spatterings across. We may be doing Antlers again, and there's a few other places that are being researched.
Right.
Yeah. So Marianne, what are your video talk about today at 5:30? Or what
Today, last Wednesday was doing houses that had ghosts in it that pretty much destroyed their marriages. This Wednesday, it is ghosts that are in businesses and the damage that they can do in a business. It's amazing what a ghost can actually do if they put their mind to it.
Feel free to even talk about the one you had to kick out of the store. And the chaos he was causing.
Well, yeah, and it was your store. I mean, and it was from a portal. So, and it's really bad because, like, when I was at the store last weekend and gave the talk, that's the first thing everybody wants to know. So, how many ghosts are in here? And it's like, no, it's place store is protected. You want me to tell you how many ghosts are sitting outside in the cars waiting for you to come out? But I can't talk to them if they're out there. So, yeah, they can show up anywhere. And keep this in mind. That can still happen when a house has got the seeds up. If something negative happens inside of the house that's really nasty, you're going to blow open a portal. Portals are blown open by live people, not dead people.
And that's the thing. So the store was protected. We had a portal that was open, and there was a pretty harsh healing session that ended up happening. And so it opened up. And this is going to answer, I see Margie asking and Amanda asking if I see earthbounds. And the only times I really see them, I have to be exhausted. Like all of my defenses and walls and everything come down. And then I feel like I'm hallucinating because otherwise I don't see them. So either that or a deep state of meditation. So there's been times where I've asked Marianne, I'm like, are they kind of like this and kind of, and she's like, yeah. But to me, I have to try really hard or be so exhausted that I'm like, I'm just hallucinating.
But people, if they would just trust their gut instinct, I mean, just keep this in mind. You and you and somebody are at a nice little restaurant having a nice meal. Don't tell me you can't tell when somebody's staring at you. You know somebody's staring at you. You can put your fork down and look around. You can catch them staring at you. And when you're home alone and you get that feeling, somebody is probably staring at you. I really think on the Zooms, I'll bet you out of the 25 that come on every week or each time we do this, I'll bet you at least 15 of them say they're coming on just to see if there's anything in their place or not. But if they didn't think something was there or sense it, they wouldn't even come on.
Right.
So think about that. If you're questioning it, it's probably happening.
Well, I mean, what was it last year down in Florida? I kept feeling like I'm like, I am being watched constantly. But I chalked it up being an Airbnb that there were cameras hidden in the Airbnb. And I'm low key with Sandy, who's there trying not to freak her out, like looking around for cameras and testing mirrors. And I'm like, where's these cameras at? And you're like, no, you got a guy hanging out. And I'm like, well, that jerk.
Yeah. See, you've been watching too much Criminal Minds. You know where the cameras are hid.
Well, and it was an adorable little Airbnb. Well, I say adorable. Then as you're there for a while and you're like, that's not really a TV, that's a computer monitor. There's no TV. But when you first walk in, you got, really beautiful like Asian decor and like rice, that rice paper room dividers and these cute little dolls and stuff. And so like when she would go to bed or go to the bathroom, I'd go over to those little dolls and I'm like, which one are you? Have the cameras in the eyes or this and that? Where is this coming from?
And you, of all people, put ghost at the very end of that list.
Yeah. But wait, here's the opposite of this. So while we were in Tucson in one of the vendor warehouses, it was towards the end of the day. And Lori and I were talking about, she was like, if you want really good Mexican, let's go over, true Mexican, the Filibertos and this and that. And they're talking. And the one lady is like, well, don't be here after dark. My first thought was we're near like reservations and this and that. And, the desert, my mind went to skinwalkers and paranormal. And she's like, no, honey, this is bad side of town at night. So there's no rhyme or reason of which
you got to watch out for the live people there, not the dead people.
So, yeah, my mind went skinwalker, not,
Well, it's like some houses, some areas. I mean, now that Ted's retired, he comes with me all the time. But years and years, I went to all these places by myself. I mean, I drive up from Worcester and I'd be up here in all kinds of neighborhoods for 4, 5, 6 hours and then drive back down to Worcester. And it was never the ghost. I was more worried about some of the neighborhoods I went in than the ghosts. And it's crazy. And you figure things out. I figured out that bad neighborhoods don't get active till around 1 p.m. So if I ever had to go to a bad neighborhood, I'd go 10 o'clock in the morning because the bad guys are still sleeping then. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, I never have felt unsafe in any parts of the Tucson, though the one bank had me like, what in the world? Like you had a narrow little pathway and there was only 2 tellers that you could stand at and everything was behind walls and plexi. So, I mean, you know how like normal banks you walk into, you've got like your little cubicles off to the side and they're like half cubies and like even all of those were like behind huge plexi. And as I was leaving, I heard this click and a quick flash and I'm like, they just took my picture on the way out the door. And I'm like, what in the hell goes on in this half of Tucson?
Oh, I'd be worried about that. Yeah.
But, but during the day running around it, I'm like, I never saw anything that was questionable. So I'm like, well, hell.
You just must be oblivious to some things. That's it.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back in there and on the way out, I'm going to make faces or whatever at the camera just for my own amusement. But
and then you'll end up on some FBI list. I wouldn't do that if I were you.
The PNC is like, we're done with you. Yeah. We can no longer do business with you. But so yeah. Yeah, and Gina, we actually talked about this last week. Some of the places in Arizona to possibly, get Marianne out there and do places. Tombstone.
I've been there. Yeah, I've been to that one. Yeah.
And I'll have to go back and get a hold of Laura because she was like, you got to go here, 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 here. Actually, I'll see Laura this weekend, so I'll have to write those down. We'll have to figure out some travel arrangements somehow, maybe. But yeah, I think we're at the end of it's 11:01.
We got another one under our belt. This is good.
There we go. Amy, thank you. Says Melissa, I love your stories. You should share more. Plus, you're very knowledgeable about other woo-woo stuff. To me, this is just my typical day. I don't know what's funny, what's not. But yeah, I remember thinking in the car coming back from that warehouse, like.
Our normal days aren't normal for anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. So.
Yeah. Well, and I guess it would be interesting to have somebody just kind of following around for some of the conversations and stuff that I have with like you and me and some of the other people at the store and just the things and I guess the one-liners that you could say. Both of my label printers went down while I was gone and came back yesterday and just taking them apart. And I'm like, I am too knowledgeable in how to take apart brother label makers, and Lori said something and she's a big Mercury retrograde fan. And I'm like, and it's not Mercury retrograde. So I'm like, what's your explanation there? So
Someday you're going to hit a Mercury retrograde that is going to lay you out cold, lady, and you're going to say she was telling the truth.
well, I should probably, it's been forever since I looked at my chart, but I just remember there's a bunch of them in retrograde. And I remember the one reader who was interview reading to do chart reading. She's like, all of your big planets are retrograde. No wonder you're always like, man, that was nothing. Like, like I just have
and,
the mindset, like crying about it solves nothing. Go do something about it.
and I
So,
think your astrological natal chart tells a lot about a person.
which planet has to be in what sign at what degree for the sarcastic sassiness? Because apparently mine is there.
That I don't know. Someday you have to get Ted to the side and see if he can still remember. But I no, don't know that at all. It's like the first time I had my natal chart done, someone said you were born on a balsamic moon. I says, I don't know what that is. And they said, that's really different. And of course, I'm a Pisces, so my moon is my thing anyway. And it's like, oh my gosh, you'll learn all kinds of things if you can go to a good astrologer with a natal chart. I never realized that it is snowing here, and I can't believe it's snowing. It's not that cold.
Hopefully it's melting as soon as it's hitting.
Yeah. But I remember thinking to myself, you don't, everyone, okay, I'm a Pisces, but that is not my personality. You go by your rising. My rising is Leo. I couldn't go in people's houses if I was all Pisces. I'd be shriveled up in a corner somewhere. But with Leo rising, that's not going to stop me. So that's the important thing. That's more when you read the newspaper and do they still put them in the newspaper? I don't know. But if they're in the newspaper, read your sign and then read your rising. Combine the two, and that's how your day will go.
Well, somebody said maybe it was my Aries thing.
Oh, maybe.
With Virgo rising, and then Baylor said a balsamic moon dipped in vinegar. I actually prefer balsamic on my.
I do too. That's all I use, right?
But yeah, I'm Aries with Virgo rising, and I think my moon is in Libra. Maybe
Well, see, Virgo, you're so down to earth. That's why you need to know the answers to everything. And see, Ted's double Earth, Capricorn and Virgo.
Yeah, the rest of my chart couldn't tell you shit.
Yeah,
I don't care. But yeah,
I just don't know enough about it. I just know what I need to know for myself.
Yeah, and we already know how I. But what I find hilarious, I'm Aries. My son's father is Scorpio. And our son is Aries with Scorpio rising. So, and that's why I'm like, how is there so much of your father in you? Without,
And as he gets older, you're going to have to curb that.
Millie wants to know when you and I are going to write a book.
When they start buying books again, we'll write a book, because unless you're Stephen King or somebody really good or big, they're not buying books anymore.
Well, you mean the big publishers?
Right.
This is where we have to go with like Amazon self-publish.
I got some of those too. I'm not a fan of that.
And Melanie says she buys all of your books. And I will talk with Greg because his book just came out and it's through Amazon, and I'll ask like what that was like on the back end.
No, he said it was a publisher in Pennsylvania.
Was it? Because I thought he said it was Amazon. He's like, it's on Amazon. I'm going to text him.
Buy it off of Amazon, but he had his published by some little publishing company the author did. He's not the author. The author did.
Oh, I bet I know who it is. I know a publishing company in Pennsylvania.
That's who did it.
And they will pretty much take anything. If you write the book, they will print it for you.
Well, Hay House in California has asked for me to do a book for them, and I won't do a book for them.
And to be honest, Marianne would have to do all the hard work because I would get about halfway through and be like, I'm so done with this.
And I have to tell you, writing a book is hard. It's not easy to do. I shouldn't say that. The 6 of them were easy. The cookbook was very hard to write. Very, very, very hard to write. I didn't realize, like, when a Boy Scout troop puts out a little cookbook or a church puts out a cookbook, that's fine. They can print anything and it can be, sold or given out. But when a book is published and it's a cookbook, every recipe in that book has to be tested by a licensed kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Over
there
and over
is
and over again.
one ingredient that is off, you are constantly rewriting and redoing it. The original book, I think I had to throw away 8 recipes and find different ones because they were given to me by old ghosts. Well, you have to make your stove really hot, put more logs in. How do you translate that to your stove? I had no idea how to do that, so that one got thrown out.
Is that 450 versus 325?
I had no idea. They use stuff in their recipes that they don't even make anymore, or maybe they went out and found some weed to put in it. I don't know. And they definitely threw out the one that told you how to make squirrel stew. They didn't want that one in the cookbook at all.
That would be a whole
but see, you have to understand there was a recipe, but there was a story that went with each one and how I got the recipe.
Mm-hmm.
And the story for the squirrel recipe was really good, but I couldn't use it. So it's hard. The cookbook was really hard. They wanted me to do another cookbook pretty fast. I said, I'll never do another cookbook.
You know what? Maybe what we should do is record a podcast with some of those stories.
Oh, there's a lot of them. I'll tell you. I don't even know.
Because people are asking when's the next podcast, and that our chats here and our podcast all need to be longer. But maybe that's what we can do is we can go over some of those stories and we'll discuss it.
Well, you got the cookbook. See what stories you want to do.
Well, I'm thinking the stories that aren't in there, like that squirrel stew.
Oh, the squirrel one. Oh, I see.
Yeah, those type of ones that nobody's seen yet.
I have to find that. Yeah, I've got, like I said, 8 of them put back someplace that I couldn't choose.
And see, Amy says, yes, podcast those reject recipes.
Everybody wants the cruddy stuff.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to, that's what we'll do here and there.
Oh, good. Just add something more to your list, Melissa. I can't believe everything you can add to a list.
I am bringing in some more minions, and honestly, as you and I have been chatting, talking here, my new marketing person has been, that's why I keep looking down every now and then. Multitask.
That's good. Okay.
And poor Lori, I've been shifting some of the like, hey, Lori. She's like, oh my God.
Do this, please. Yeah.
So I more minions.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll free some of this off of my plate and I can do more fun things.
I hope.
So join us next week, guys. I think, Marianne, you got things to go do. I have an order to go pick up.
Yep, I got to do the YouTube for tonight. And yep. Mm-hmm. So have a good week. And next Wednesday is Law of Abundance, and we'll be on before you have to write it. So have your checkbook there with you so we can write that check first thing when we come on.
Oh, maybe we should, would it be appropriate time to everybody write it together with us online?
Sure, they could, because it's,
okay.
I forget when it peaks, but do you remember what time the new moon peaks Wednesday, Ted? he doesn't remember. But I remember looking at it thinking, we'll be on the air when it peaks, before it peaks. So yeah, that's a good idea.
So bring your pieces of paper and pens,
Or
everybody.
your
We'll do it.
checkbook, for those of you that have your Law of Abundance checkbook, bring it.
Yep.
And we can write it out.
Sounds good.
Okay,
So
everybody, be safe. Be careful with the weather coming in, and we'll do it again next Wednesday.
sounds good. Bye, everybody.